everyone. Welcome to the SOP photography episode. Today, I'm very excited to have our guest. I'm going to introduce him shortly. Steve, once again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to host on SOP. We are at the CEP studios at iHub. Super excited for today's conversation. Right, my name remains Rosebella Abok. I am your global customer experience professional. And today we are going to be talking all things technology with customer experience. Let's just have a round of applause. I'm welcoming Timothy Laku. Hi, Tim.
Hey, Bella, how are you?
I'm easy. I'm good. I'm so happy we're doing this recording today.
I know.
Yeah,
We had this conversation earlier.
I know.
Really excited to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited to have you here. So, one of the things we're going to be talking about before I introduce you is the general landscape around AI. So it's this buzzword, artificial intelligence. How does it apply? There's fears around losing jobs. There's fears around tasks changing in the workplace, relevance for the economy. And I think of all of the people I would have chosen to have this conversation with, you're probably the best. The audience will learn very shortly why.
Interesting.
Yeah. And if anyone is already looking for you on LinkedIn as Timothy Laku, they've seen something that says fractional CIO CTO. Do you want to tell us that as part of your introduction?
Yes, it's a question I get a lot. The word fractional here essentially means I support organizations without necessarily being full-time, right?
Mhm.
So if it was a CIO CTO role that starts at 8, stops at 5, it's a full-time role, right? So fractional means I am not giving them 8 hours in a day. I'm probably giving them 1 day in a week. I'm probably giving my clients 2 hours in a day, or I'm giving them 1 week in a month, right? And so what that allows is for the customer to be able to say, I don't have the budget to get you full time, but this is how much I have. And then I'm like, okay, so that buys you 1 day in a week. And then we're able to work together, right? So fractional allows organizations to be able to, or companies to be able to tap into my experience of 20 plus years at a fraction of the cost.
Mhm.
That's where the fractional comes from.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. So at any one time, you are available for a couple of organizations and you are doing what? So are you coming in at the we are doing digital transformation space, or are you altogether helping them to redefine their IT strategy for the coming days? Are you saying this should be how you recruit for your people in IT? Are you coming in at crisis management point where things have already hit the fan and now
The house is on fire.
they've now called you in? So
Yeah.
when is this organizations are engaging you?
So I come in at different points.
Mhm.
Usually there's an issue and things are broken down and they don't know what to do. They haven't figured it out. They need to figure it out. So all of those points that you've mentioned are entry points, and the client would usually call me at those particular points. One, they're expanding. They're going beyond Kenya. They want to be in 7 countries in the next 5 years. They want to figure out how they can leverage technology for that expansion, right? So they need a strategy that gets them there. They do have a business strategy to get there, but they need technology now to start to define how they can get there using the tools, using the people, using the processes, but tech, basically leveraging technology. So I come in to be able to guide them. Strategy conversations, how does the team need to look like? Who do you need to hire? Which functions within technology or IT do you need? How should you structure it? What do you need to have in place in terms of policies? And then, so basically, those conversations start. Then, through the initial phases of the strategy development, through implementation, through hiring people, through working with vendors and suppliers, sourcing for that, working with technology partners, all of that. So it's usually a long-term engagement. It's not just a 6 months engagement. When I come in initially, most of my clients are 3 to 5 years. That's sort of how the contracts run. They're renewable every other year. But it's because the scope of the work keeps changing and keeps adapting based on the stage where they are as far as that strategy we're implementing with them. So I could have been called in because there's a crisis. And then now we have to go all the way back to the exec level, to the board level, to have a conversation around what is right for this organization as far as tech is concerned, to be able to deliver that promise of the business strategy and where they want to go. Right? And then now we cascade downwards. So it's always going to be up, then down.
Then down. Awesome. So you've said a couple of things, and just when you were talking, I could already formulate a lot of questions. One is, what has been your experience with doing like root cause analysis at point of entry? Because sometimes what we seem to think is the issue is a symptom.
Yes.
And you've made it into the entryway, you're writing and you're figuring this is a people situation. It's not even a technology situation, or it's a process situation. You have all of the technology you could possibly need, you have the people, but it's a process situation. So what's been your experience with root cause analysis?
So I call it discovery. Right?
Discovery.
You come in, then you've been called in to, actually, this is how the call usually goes. We need to implement this new ERP so that we can start to integrate all of our functions together in one solution and we become more efficient. And I'm like, okay, all right, let's go a little bit back. Like, how did we arrive at the point where you actually think you need
An
enterprise
ERP
resource planning
solution.
solution, right? At what point how did you get here? And so I kind of do the discovery with them to have that conversation. And during the discovery, then you start to look at
Uncover.
you start to unpack, like, okay, so the gap wasn't tech, the gap was they just didn't have the right function, they didn't have the right people, right? Or you realize that they are trying to automate something within their system, a process that they haven't figured out yet. And they're thinking that the technology is going to
Be the
figure it
solution.
out for them. And I'm like, no, you probably need to figure out that process first before you start to think about this technology that you want to bring on board, because you're going to automate something that is not working.
It's a broken process.
It's already broken, right? So you kind of have to figure it out. So the discovery goes before we even reach tech, before we even talk about the technology. It has to start with, first of all, what's the vision of the organization? Where are you heading over the next 5-10 years? What is that strategy for the business, for the organization? So it starts there. What do you have in place right now in terms of processes? What do you have in place right now in terms of people? What do you have in place right now in terms of technology? And then I can go vertically into each one of those to like discover what's happening further and then come up with a report and say, I think the technology is not broken. You have the people, the process is not right. You probably need to tweak it here.
This is where to start.
Yeah.
All right.
It's usually not a good thing. Like the executive team don't want to
Hear the truth.
that because it's the truth. They're like, just come and implement this solution.
Come, you're the solution.
We want you to implement this
You
ERP.
come.
I'm like, that's not the problem.
So someone sold something within the organization as being the problem.
Yes, exactly. And it wasn't the problem.
Okay, so again, when you were speaking, I quickly went through is this in a startup environment? What's the tenure of this organization? Or is this our, as we call them, legacy brands that have been there for a while and have a very large scope in terms of geographies and in terms of expansion within the continent? So is it a mix of those types of organizations? Also, is it industry specific? Are we looking at companies that are heavily technology driven? Or are we looking at companies that are still very reliant on people as the main resource? So what sort of companies fall into those brackets?
So it's a broad spectrum. I've worked with startups, with SMEs, with enterprise. I've worked with social impact organizations as well. So the commonality there is that all this, whether you're a startup or a social impact organization or you're an enterprise here having 1,000 staff in like geographically 6, 7 countries, you leverage technology in one form or another.
Yes.
So the scope in which you leverage tech might vary depending on whether you're a startup or whether you're an enterprise, right? An enterprise uses it at scale. A startup uses it as a tool because it's probably a driver for them. They are probably a tech startup. So they're delivering service or product to the customer over the tech. So they're a technology company. So by default, it's really the engine, it's their heart, it's their business strategy, their tech strategy, right? Somewhere in between here, the SMEs are using it as an enabler to be able to, to support, to be able to sell more, to be able to reach out to more customers. They use them as channels. So tech is leveraged at different stages in different ways.
Yeah.
And so I've worked because and there's this conversation around digital transformation. I stopped using that term digital transformation about 10 years ago.
Why?
Because it's such a heavy term and non-tech people don't understand. It means too many things. People are usually confused when you say digital transformation. It means implementing an app. It means going to the cloud. It means, reorganizing your cyber, your infrastructure. So there's too many things you could do in digital transformation. So I replaced that with technology modernization because that's easy to. Because why are we doing all of these things?
True. Right? Yeah.
We're
we're adjusting to the changes in the marketplace,
exactly,
and we're using technology to adjust to those changes.
Yeah, the customer tastes have changed, and so therefore you have to change your technology to modernize it so that you can now deliver that taste that is new.
Yeah.
And that's it. Social impact side. Now, the people that you're impacting are living in different places. You need to find ways to get to as many of them as possible.
True.
Technology gets you there.
True.
So I replaced digital transformation with technology modernization.
I'm
because that's really
borrowing
what it
that.
is.
I'm borrowing that TM, technology modernization. But
Yes.
still, to resonate in certain rooms, I might still need to use digital transformation to get my
totally
foot
okay.
in.
Yeah.
Then once I'm in, I help people redefine, and
Yes.
I'll borrow that, and I'll say I learned it from Tim.
Yeah.
Okay, so here goes. Let's dig a little bit deeper into the SME world. We've seen organizations that have a beginning turnover of about 5 million Kenya shillings upwards. Have an idea or a founder, a CEO who comes into the picture, launches their idea with minimal funding. Sometimes they've borrowed from their family and their friends to even just start the business. And before you know it, they have a balance sheet that supports them going to a bank or any other financier, and they get some money and they choose to expand. But this same person is the idea holder, the vision bearer. They are not necessarily technically empowered to make sure that this business is successful. So what I've seen with some of those businesses, maybe like in microfinance or something, they understand, lending is a very good business model, and more people are borrowing against a certain interest rate because you've made it convenient and you've made it very fast, and the paperwork is smoother and things like that. The integrations with M-Pesa is great. So more and more people and traffic and referrals are going to them. What do? They open more brick and mortar branches across even the CBD or across the country. Remember, again, he has a lean team. He probably hired the closest people to him that he knew were technically empowered to do the basics and get this business up and running. And then now he knows that in order for this business to continue to scale sustainably, he needs to implement systems and processes that are more efficient for the business and to some extent cost effective, but nonetheless efficient. And you're called into that space of redefining what it will look like for them. Go.
Interesting. I think the first thing I would do is ideally it's still the discovery, right? That's where I always want to start. The discovery here is discover what it means for them if they achieve these business KPIs or objectives that they are pushing or they are trying to, to do as a business. So what do they want to achieve in the next year, in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years? So try and figure that out, right? Is it more sales? Is it more customers? Is it better in terms of reputation? Do they want to engage customers? Is the quality of that engagement something that they want to improve, right? What are their customers saying about their brand? What are their customers saying about their product and services? Like, it's always good to look at it from a 360 angle, not just internally in terms of what the business is telling you or what the leadership is telling you, but also externally in terms of what is the vibe that other customers that they serve feel or think about their brand and their product and their services. And that then now informs my next step in this case, right? I have that outside view, so what your customers are saying. I have the inside view, this is what your staff is saying, and then this is what the executive team is saying. And the reason why I do it that way is because the danger of having a conversation only with the leadership team is that you have 30% of the truth. 70% of the truth is somewhere out there.
I know. With the staff, the actual people that are closest to the customers, and then the customers.
Yes.
And you've got me right there, because when you start to say speak to the customer and have the voice of the customer in the room before implementation, you've got me.
Yes.
So let's talk about the things that go wrong during implementation. Some of those are mistakes around voice of the customer. Permit me go into that space. So what you'll find is teams that have looked at a new shiny tool, and internally they've decided this is a good tool. In fact, our competition also uses it. It's about time we also embedded this tool. And then when we are the tail end of going live is when we say let's introduce it to a sample of our customers and see how it goes. So there's sunk costs for a while, and there's opportunity cost, there's time, there's expertise, there's all of these things we have. We've been doing this for 2 years internally. We've been doing this for 2 years with no word on involvement to the customer. Now we are about to launch, we decide commercial pilot, or we decide sample of our customers. Let's expose them to this tool. And then those customers give you raw, honest feedback about most likely their pain points and their friction points with this system you guys have introduced, or with this process you guys have introduced. It's now harder for me as a customer to access your call center. It's now harder for me to get my issue resolved when I use social media as a tool to convey my issue. It takes you guys longer. So there's friction and there's pain points here, and the customer is coming with this feedback to the organization. And I've been in a place where I have given feedback, and the energy I've received from that organization is, we are far on along in this process. Your feedback was solicited, but it will not necessarily change the trajectory or the direction of what we were doing with our technology. Do you want to speak a little bit to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you have seen definitely, I think, a whole lot of stories around that from the user side. I have seen a lot of that from the technology implementation side, right? And yeah, it's a sad scenario, because if I think about, let's say, 15 years ago, there was a project we were doing in West Africa where we were supposed to roll out a system that it's a database essentially for it's a program of women and children and old people. They would get money from this organization every month to support their livelihood. And they needed to be on a database. And on that database, their name, their details, their biodata, all of that information right? And so they went from paper because that is where all the records were, and they wanted that to be digitized. So the idea was to get it onto a system where they can use their phones to verify themselves that I am who the system says I am, and so there's an SMS that will come to your phone, and then you're physically there, your picture and the details that you have match. So then therefore you're a recipient of this money that you're supposed to be getting at the end of the month, right? Again, so the guys who built that system did not interact with the users at all.
Wow.
Right? They just went, okay, so we need a database. Yes, we need a database. It needs to have the biodata of stuff. Okay. How are we checking pictures?
Boxes.
Yeah. Check. We'll call them in, we'll take photos of them, or we'll ask them to send photos over WhatsApp, whatever the case might be. We'll collect some information and then put that available. Introduced QR codes, right? And things like that. Now, as a beneficiary, you're coming to get your money at the end of the month. You're supposed to scan a code that is showing on the screen of the laptop, but you don't know how to do that. That's one. Two, you don't have a smartphone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if the only way you're going to get into the system was to have a smartphone and know how to QR code, that's 3/4 of the beneficiaries who did not access money that month because you have to follow that system. Now it's chaos, right? And so that's a critical example where you have maybe about 3,000 people coming in every month. And for that month where the system was rolled out, no one was ready, no one was prepared, no one was trained. Everybody was basically lined up and they were being okay, do you have a smartphone? Yes. For those who have, come to this side. If you don't have, come this side. We'll figure out a way of doing it. And they eventually went back to the old system of paper and going back to the files. And then you're wondering, why did we spend so much money and time building this system when the users can't actually use it? No one actually thought through that process. But that's just speaking to what you're saying. Like before the project started, we should have gone down to the ground, met with the beneficiaries, and then understood what tools do you use? Or some of us don't have phones. Okay, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Going to be mobile first.
Yeah.
How are they going to be on the system? How do we allow a verification system for them if you don't have a phone?
Purely feature phone based, maybe.
Yes, USSD, probably integrate that, use their phone numbers as their ID, because that's going to be unique to them, and then the SMS goes to them.
Yes.
Fine, that
Whichever
particular
device you're
workflow would
using,
work.
yeah.
And then for those who have smartphones, yes, you can come and scan the QR code, all of
As
that.
an option.
Those options would need to be part of the development and design before we even start implementing anything, right? And so those stories are there, and there are many. And so people on the other end suffer because we did not involve them. The other one would be if you don't involve them, let's say it's very simple. Everybody has a smartphone, everybody can scan a QR code, but everybody don't feel that they have ownership in this new system that you're bringing.
You did not involve me. And so this is upfront resistance.
Yeah.
I have all the tools and I could follow the process, but this is you.
I don't have internet. They start coming up with excuses.
With reasons for which they will not engage. And deep down, it's why didn't you involve me as part of solutioning for the problem?
And or you hear a lot of this thing doesn't work. That's normally it's an ownership issue when you start to hear users say there are a lot of complaints. This new system of yours doesn't work. And you're like, wait, can you scan? Yeah. Can you access? Yes. So what is not working?
What is not working?
Like exactly what is not working. There's nothing specifically that is not working, but you're hearing it's not working, it's not working, it's not working. Ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah. And ownership basically boils down. You did not involve the team.
You did not involve them.
Yeah.
Then there's this part about investing a lot in customer education.
Yeah.
Or let me call it user education, because sometimes it's two-pronged. There's the user internally within the organization because they're required to do something on their end.
Yeah.
The app is customer facing, but the CRM tool is it's been integrated is in the back end. And so there's users within the organization and then there's users without. And we've seen this. We've seen, okay, we are ready for rollout. We have feedback from the external users. They say we are good. And then calls start coming into the call center, comments start being shot on social media. the customer-facing teams within the organization do not have the tools to handle these queries. They do not have sufficient, let me even call it sufficient training, because sometimes what training looks like is we are launching this thing tomorrow. We all get into a joint virtual call during peak times of the call center to train you for an hour. So
The phones
sometimes,
are ringing.
and sometimes it's the sufficiency of the training. We've not enabled and empowered those people to go through a process of acclimatizing to this new tool and getting their feedback over a period, literally like piloting. You have to do a POC with them on what the interface will look like from their end, and this is what to do. A knowledge base of sorts, managers that can come in and say, this is how I'll unstick you if this happens. Role playing, things that enable and empower the internal users, just so that when we go live, they feel ready and they know where to get what resources in case they are stuck. And especially when you have knowledgeable customers, it can be quite tricky. And customers like me, where you tell me I will get back to you, is not sufficient. Not at all. Because you know what I asked him. Let me just be honest. When someone behind a phone call tells me, so is this the phone number we can reach you on? And I'm like, yes, this is the number. And please confirm, is your name Rosebella Abok? I'm like, yes, it is. So we will be getting back to you. Do you know what I ask? When? When will you get back to me? You have to give me a time promise.
Of course.
Also because of my planning. Now, randomly, I just want to share. There's this mattress chronicle situation going on. If anyone has been looking at my LinkedIn posts, I did a post about me buying mattresses. So this happened to me today, Tim. This is a second delivery simply because of the sizing of the mattress.
Oh, the old one was too small?
So they brought in, it was a pair of mattresses, and one was too big for the set of the bed. And I did not receive in person. When I arrived home, I discovered, you know what? Missy Fundi, I am not a carpenter and I'm not an expert on the dimensions of a bed. I gave them what I thought was the approximation. So it's too big. Now we have to resize this mattress. Long story short, today was the delivery of the resized mattress. I took the opportunity to engage he wasn't the driver because they were a set of two people. So let me call him the installer, the mattress installer. I took the time to engage him on, is it possible that if you deliver a mattress and discover that the fitting of the bed to the mattress is not okay, that you call the actual customer and or the business to say, do we go back with this mattress or do we leave it? So they left it, which cost me an additional week plus and some money on top. I did not mind paying the top up. He says to me, I was not the one that delivered it last time. And I say, wow. Then I go ahead to say, I'm sure this happens quite a bit with lots of customers because how many of us know the dimensions of and or can measure, even with a tool such as a tape measure or whatever, you can measure to an exactness when you're ordering. So I said to him, is it possible that on the website they can put a measuring guide, just a guide? It can be in whichever metrics. It can be in centimeters, it can be in feet plus inches and all that. He goes ahead to tell me our mattresses are fitted to a certain size because we also supply beds. And our beds are fitted to those mattresses. And I say, wow, but aren't those yours? If I have a bed, empower me to use a tape measure at my locale and then look at a reference point and be able to now make my order tailored to your reference point. I think some of these cases would not be happening. Guess what he tells me? That one now is up to the owners of the business. They can always put that on the website. Like, in short, team, this person is not taking any form of accountability or responsibility. Then I said to him, I'm not relenting. I said to him, you know, the time of delivery was not very convenient and I had to arrange my time for this. He jumps right in to say, that is about customer care. That's not me.
Disconnect, huge disconnect.
So you know what I say to him? I say to him, you, the customer care team, the measuring team, the other set of drivers and deliverers, the CEO, all of you are the name of your company. So I'll do them a service and not mention the name of the company here, but all of you, it's not my work as a customer to start to differentiate roles and responsibilities in your organization and to start to either create a forgiveness matrix for what didn't go right in my experience. So in finality, I said to him, I really hope you'll convey my sentiments. I really hope you will take them to someone and you will say that these are the sentiments that I gave. And of course, he was in a mad rush to go. I mean, the delivery list is long. And as he put it, and it was made to sound very good. You're the first delivery we are doing today. And so we have a couple of other places to go. And I still say to him when he's walking out of my house, please make sure you convey this feedback to the people across the organization. This is me as a customer.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I'm so inspired to, I think, write an article or do a post on your delivery guy is letting you down. Not for that organization only, but across the retail space. And post-COVID, a lot of us took on the convenience of, if I can order this thing online and have it delivered to my house, that has now become part of our lifestyle. And since I am not face to face engaging with anyone else in the organization, the one person I get to interface with in person is your delivery guy.
Or the installer.
Or yeah, we were calling him the installer, yeah, the mattress installer.
So same thing. He delivers and installs.
Exactly. But if that person is the face of your organization and they're coming in at the tail end of my journey with you, this person needs to be empowered to face me as a customer, to be able to respond to my feedback, but to also capture it and hold the rest of the people in the customer journey accountable. Yeah. So in comes now the technology, right? So the app, as we know it, has certain features that empower certain people, right? Where does it, or where should it incorporate my voice as a customer and the installer delivery person being able to enter the details and capture the details of every single delivery such that the business can take on insights and decision making? Yeah. Let's talk technology from a place of not beautiful features, but practical, usable, for the end user. Yeah.
So that story that you just shared, I think it's very classic. I feel most businesses that are struggling with product and they're a product company that sells something, once they deliver, when they have this quality mattress, it's nice. Everybody loves their mattress. Anything else
is extra.
They have done their job. They've delivered a mattress that is amazing. It's comfortable. You will rate that mattress 5 out of 5. But they forget the mattress needs to get on a truck, needs to get to you, needs to get on your bed, needs to be installed there. There are instances where and this is not going to be the first, I'm sure they meet customers every day that say, you asked for a 6x6, we brought you 6x6, but your mattress is actually your bed is 6x5. Like, this happens all the time. But they don't want to think about that. the leadership team is like, our mattresses are amazing.
The dashboard
problem
reads
is
number of mattresses delivered.
How
It's
many
on the dashboard.
What do our customers? How do they rate our mattresses? 5 out of 5. See, we're a mattress company.
We are
Our,
the leading.
yeah,
We
our
are the
KPI
leading
is
mattress
amazing. We're the
company.
leading. We're selling a lot. But the experience, the customer, that experience of the customer, they are not taking time to like capture that and be able to understand that. So a classic case in which something like that can be resolved. You see how when Amazon does delivery in outside countries, the delivery person will come with this mobile device.
Yes.
They will do the delivery.
Yes.
They'll make you sign over there.
They'll do the entry.
Right. And you can scan a QR code there and then give feedback immediately. Right there.
Yeah.
Before they go back into their car.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's now not the delivery person going with the customer feedback to the office
to deliver it back.
It's at that touch point where I am exchanging the product and the customer is accepting that they have received it, that the feedback is being executed right there and then. You don't wait. And that goes into a central system where then the customer experience team can pick that and then be able to action it. So the gap there is that there's no tool for the installer. You have not empowered the installer with something to move with, that when they finish installation, they are required not to leave that house unless that customer signs. But here, if you're not there, they will leave the mattress there, they will go. Like there's no accountability. How is the installer being accountable to the business as far as the customer is concerned? You get to call and say, they haven't showed up, they are late until tomorrow. Or if they come tomorrow, I'm not at the house, they leave it outside. Can they install? Like all of that back and forth that you're now directly going to call center would have removed all those pieces of the bad experience if you tell the installer you're not leaving the customer until they sign this
is
document.
complete.
That's your KPI. And so at that point, you're like, I can't go. Like I need to make sure they are there. I need to make sure that they are there. I need to make sure that anything that needs to be done well. So when they sign this and they rate me and they rate the company, when I'm leaving here, I'm not going back to another complication in terms of my supervisor asking me, what's going on? So it's that accountability that is missing. And just a simple handheld tool, their own mobile phone can have that scanner. It's right there sitting on their phone. And so the business then makes a deliberate decision to hire. If those people don't have smartphones, empower them, give them a company smartphone.
Yeah.
Because the value of that smartphone vis-a-vis the feedback and the experience of the customer, that experience and the referral you get from that customer having a good experience is way more, it's worth more than the phone, right? And so you basically build that in. So this is a process issue. Introducing a process that empowers the installer, that allows the installer and the delivery person to engage with the customer, that touch point right there, and that you don't close that sale until the feedback has been actually made.
True.
So it's a process issue. And so this process needs to be introduced, and that usually means introducing a tool that
can enable
the people
that.
can actually do and use.
I signed, so it's still pen and paper.
Yeah.
So it was a tafadhali, please just sign this paper. That's your copy. You don't even have to sign your copy. Just sign this one. And for him, that's success.
Yeah, an account copies.
And when he was walking away, I just thought to myself, this is how companies die. And even when they are on their way to the graveyard, they don't know it.
They don't know it. And it's usually that last mile person, that person who has the last touch point with the customer. Like you said, that's an article that needs to be written, because that last mile, that last person who has that last touch point with your customer,
they have so much power. They have so much power and influence.
But they're the ones we ignore the most in a business. They're the ones we ignore the most.
Do you know, he said to me, you know what, now we've learned, and it's good to learn from mistakes. You now know how best you can measure when you're making your next order. And without thinking twice, I said to myself, if I make my next order with you guys, So
Because I've come here
why
twice.
does he still have the audacity to think
It's gonna happen.
I'm going to order from them the next time I need the product? So that I'm going to tell anyone else that please buy your mattresses from so and so. If anything, I'll rant about what was not okay. And like you said, quality of mattress here is not the question. It's the quality of the experience that I had, how you made me feel as a customer, and that sticks.
Yes.
That really sticks. You know, there's this famous quote. If you ask a couple of customer experience professionals to come together and give you their favorite quotes in customer experience, you'll definitely get Maya Angelou, that people forget what you say.
Yes.
People can even forget what you do or did.
Yes.
But people will never forget how you made them feel.
Exactly.
And if you did not make me feel appreciated, if you did not make me feel special as a customer, the likelihood is this memory remains with me. And when I'm needing to make another decision, or anyone in my sphere of influence is making a similar decision, I am going to tell them how you made me feel. And the decision there is that you've lost potential revenue as a business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the funny thing. Like, people don't think about retention and growth in terms of customer experience. They think about retention and growth in terms of how much investment they need to put into sales and marketing. And probably that is not where the money should be going. That's probably where the money should not be going.
Say probably should not be going.
It's true.
I've listened to and I've had companies that have reapportioned their acquisition costs and their marketing costs to retention initiatives. And those companies, if I was to, baptize myself a prophet of business success, I would say they are most likely to succeed, right? Because they say, the data says that you could spend 5 times less in terms of customer acquisition by retaining your existing customers as compared to acquiring altogether new customers, right? And it's a data point that's shared in common spaces. But I dare say to our listeners, I dare say, run the numbers in your company. Just run what your CAC looks like. Look at your average revenue per user or per customer, and look at what their spend behavior is, or their likelihood to refer, or even their history with referring, and put a revenue amount to that, potential revenue amount to that, if you optimize that process versus the costs. And and I mean all of the costs. We can tend to ignore some costs. All of the costs that go into acquiring a completely new customer that has not ever heard about or experienced your brand. Yeah. And it's a dare. It's a dare,
And the reality, I'm sure they're going to find out, is that it's actually cheaper to focus on your existing customers.
Of course.
And make the experience of those who have already bought amazing, that they get to do referrals for you. And the people who come through referrals, the cost of that is going to be very minimal as opposed to getting a new customer.
Yeah.
But I think it's usually, we already have those guys as customers. They've already bought.
Yeah.
So those ones we've already closed. Now let's go look for the new ones. And yet those are the ones who actually they're going to unlock to you this new level of growth, this new level of revenue that you're looking for while running after the new customers.
Yeah. I've had conversations where I tell people there's the places called white spaces that companies, if they start to focus on those white spaces, they'll soon discover there's a lot of revenue opportunity therein. An example is an already existing customer and what it looks like to continue to engage them and have a relationship with them over time, even if the product or service is needed periodically. Like in the next 2 years is when they will need, in the next 5 years is when they will need us again. Because in that white space, they are talking to people about your product.
Mm-hmm.
They are telling them most likely the very last experience that they had with you, which for me in this case was an installer who really didn't care. Yeah. So that's what I'll be telling people for the next 5 years, which I think their warranty period is stroke. I might need another mattress. For the next 5 years, I'm gonna be singing a song of an installer who didn't do right by me. And people will be on an elimination list for which company was that again? Also not to get in touch with them. So no, I will not go that route.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk future of technology. If companies are looking to ensure loyalty
Yes.
from their existing customers,
Yeah.
we've seen loyalty programs play out in the form of a retail company that has an app, and for certain amounts or whatever amount you spend in terms of purchase, what they give you is points, loyalty points, redeemable loyalty points. I've had a couple of criticisms around loyalty programs from customers who say, what again is the conversion? So for every 100 Kenya shillings I'm spending, you give me a point, but it's redeemable for 0.1 cents. 0.1 of a shilling. Like quick math. Quick math here
Math is not mathing.
is really, this is nothing. You want me to continue spending with you over a very long period of time, or unlock a certain amount of spend for peanuts of redeemable, items or points.
Yeah.
So let's talk future of ensuring loyalty from existing customers, and let's embed what and how technology can come in
Yeah.
to facilitate or to enable that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing about loyalty is just trust.
Mm-hmm.
Do I trust this brand or this company to deliver on what it is that I'm buying from them?
Mm-hmm.
And my experience through that engagement with that particular brand or that particular company is going to determine that trust.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really the experience at the end of the day. I mean, we say that people are not loyal or customers are not loyal. It's because we are not consistent in the delivery of the experience, right? So before we jump in and say technology, I want us to be able to say, okay, where is the problem? The problem is we're not consistent with the experience, customer to customer to customer. Not even that. The same customer might be getting different experiences when they go from one branch to another branch.
Wow.
So there's that difference just there. Because I went to branch A, everybody was smiling, everybody was happy. That was an amazing experience for me. If I go to branch B, which is closer to my house, not so much. Maybe they didn't have the things I wanted. I'm talking about retail here. But this other branch had. So the experience is not consistent. Do I trust the brand because of that difference in experience? My trust starts to drop.
Yeah.
Because of that, right? And so my loyalty will be to a brand or a company or a product or a service that has demonstrated consistency
Over time.
In the area of the experience. There's consistency there. If it's bad, obviously I'm not happy with their service, I'm not happy with the brand, even if the product is amazing. Because the experience has been bad, I don't want to go back and spend my money. I could go to the competition, they will give me good experience, I'll get the same product, maybe same quality, but because the experience is better, I shift there. So loyalty follows trust. Trust is a product of the experience. And consistency is now where technology can come in and support, right? How do you ensure that the brand or the company delivers consistent experience, right? And now the conversation of technology comes in, right? If these guys are online, they're doing shopping, it's e-commerce, they're going from product to product to product. They like something, they like it. what do you do next on that platform? That matters.
The
right?
white space.
Yeah, what do you do next? Because they've spent maybe 10 minutes on this one page. They've been browsing, scrolling, but then they're looking at this particular product. They've spent 10 minutes just looking at it. Technology should enable you to jump in there and do something.
Yes.
Right? And be able to interact.
Yes.
So the way I see it in terms of the future of tech, it's how can you personalize that experience for the different customers that are coming to interact at every touch point.
Yeah.
If it's a phone call and they keep calling the call center, they're probably calling the call center asking about the same thing. How can you personalize that experience such that when they do it next time, you're able to support them in the press 1, press 2, press. Everybody goes through that. But I probably usually go in to ask about how can I change the pin of my M-Pesa.
Yes.
Like the last 5 times I've done this, that is the thing that I've been asking. It's an age thing. Maybe mimi ni shosho huko. Like this is the thing. I'm not interested in the 5 phases
Yes.
of the questions you ask everybody. Customize that
Solve
for me. Personalize that for me, right? And the technology now allows us to be able to personalize those experiences with the different customers in whatever touch point. It can be a website, a phone, call center, maybe online, it's a chatbot, whatever the case might be, USSD. But now we need to shift from thinking as products and companies that everybody needs to get the same template.
Yeah.
In terms of how they
one
experience your
size
product.
fits all.
Yeah. Like the days of that are way gone.
They're done.
Before, the technology couldn't support it. But today, with AI, the technology can support that personalization. So again, going back to why. So don't just say, I want to introduce a chatbot.
Yes.
Why are you introducing a chatbot?
Do your
right?
customers even
Do they even use it? Like for the
Yes.
service that you're delivering and the
Yes.
product.
Yes.
Not everybody's on your website. So the
Yeah.
chatbot is for what?
Yeah.
Like 90% of your customers use the phone to call you. What's the chatbot for? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But even before that, again, you want to address the issue of loyalty, you have to go back and address the issue of trust. What makes trust stick in this situation is the consistency in the experience.
Yeah.
So how can you give me, Timothy Laku, a consistent experience?
Yes.
With that particular touch point that I use. I probably don't use USSD, obviously. I have a mobile app.
Yeah.
So for me, on the mobile app, how can you give me a consistent experience? Right? I don't want to see all the 10 menus that you have on your app.
No, just the relevant ones. The ones
The ones that I
use,
normally want to
I
use.
want to use. You're triggering a lot of things.
Yeah, but for you, it might be you want to see 3 buttons that are different from mine.
And that's it.
And that's totally
That's
fine.
it. I don't use all the other beautiful features that you have on your app.
So-
and immediately I log in because there's a unique identifier for me.
And
Then-
I have your data.
Yes.
I know what you've been consistently doing on this particular app.
Yes.
Take all this noise away.
Yes.
Just leave me with what I interact with every
Exactly.
time. And if I need, I click a small button there that gives
that
me
has
the rest.
all the others, the entire glossary of everything else that you have.
ABC to Z.
Yes. Or even onboard me piecemeal.
Yeah.
For every time that I now log in, you showcase only one other of your offerings.
Yes.
So it's piecemeal and you're introducing me slowly.
Yeah.
You're identifying whether I have a need for it
Yeah.
or not.
Yeah. Your behavior on the app is similar to Tim, because Tim uses those 2 buttons, you use those 2 buttons, but he also has a third one. And so maybe we introduce that to you. You might be interested in this one, given the data. Because you have the data as a business. Why can't you leverage that to personalize the experience for every customer?
Yes. Let's talk AI. Some people hear AI in customer experience and they hear chatbot. So let's clarify here. For me, when you tell me AI, you know where my bias goes?
Yeah.
Data analytics. I'm thinking if I use it for nothing else, I better use it because there's a lot of rich data we have around. Know your customer basic data, but also data items around their interaction with us as a business. And when we start to map those, there's a lot of other solutions we could generate for our customers We could literally advise on product development. We would not have to guess on what's the next product for our customer. If their needs and preferences have changed because they keep changing. I'm a customer and let me tell you, I'm expecting fluidity. I have a very good app experience with my bank. When I have an app experience with a retail provider, I'm expecting fluidity in the checkout process. It just can't be that now it's more difficult on another app. So here's the thing. I've had people say, what is a wow factor right now for customers is going to be basic in another 1 year or 2 years. It will be you're actually a criminal if you're not offering that. So my needs and my preferences as a customer are ever changing. And they are changing to the level of expectation of what I'm getting from other places. So I raise my expectation to that level. And it also now calls for two things, Tim. Are companies remaining nimble? And are they remaining agile in terms of the solutions, the products, the services they are delivering? One. Number two, are we saying that the workforce has the tools and the expertise for the changing needs of the marketplace? And what are we doing on that front? Yeah.
So I'll start with the second one. I don't think companies are preparing their workforce enough. They're not. So this is the thing. I think that we talk a bit. Let's talk about the reality a little bit. I think the business executives are looking at their KPIs, each one of them. Every TXO has their three things that they need to deliver for the business, and that's their KPI. They all focus there. There's a person focusing on revenue. There's a person focusing on, retention of staff internally, all of that, competency and things like that. So every director or every C-suite person has their metrics. And so their heads, they have buried their head in this metric dashboard that they're looking at. But the world outside is evolving.
It's shifting.
Is evolving, right? And it's changing. How are they tapping or how are they listening to that? Who is listening to the shift within the company or the business? The answer is usually no one. Because they're like, I am meeting my 3 KPIs. Why should I be worried about what is happening outside there?
We're good.
Until those numbers start to drop.
Is when we start to ask questions.
And then they start to ask questions. Oh, we need to do now a market survey and find out market intelligence information. What's happening?
It takes 6 months to get a report.
Our customers, what's happening? We see that this number in terms of sales retention, churn has gone up. What's
shifted
happening?
A long time ago, moved on.
And that's the thing. By the time it starts to reflect in your KPI and in your dashboard, it's too late, right? And so it's a question of how do you stay ahead of the game, be able to understand when the market is actually shifting before you start to see those numbers reflect in your KPIs. And that's where the trick is, right? And so smart leadership at CXO level are people who have to engage outside of the business, go to conferences, meet in forums of people having conversations around this
Speak
thing.
to the pulse of what's happening in the marketplace.
Yeah, I mean, subscribe to journals, digests, listen to podcasts over the weekend about what's actually happening, that is trending, that is changing. And this thing about AI, we've spoken about AI for 2 years. This is probably the third year. How many organizations are doing any proof of concepts internally? That's the thing.
Very few.
But why? They're waiting for the numbers to start to reflect in the metrics.
It will be late.
And it will be late. And that's the thing. So hence why I'm saying I don't think anyone is preparing anyone in their teams for what is actually coming. Because they're all like, hey, I'm getting a salary at the end of the month. When I go to the exec meetings, my numbers are doing well.
Revenue has increased, cost is down. We are fine.
They're kicking the can down the road,
Yes,
essentially.
the
They're like,
business is profitable.
when the numbers start to be impacted, then we shall have that conversation. There's a school of thought for executives who believe if it's not yet a problem in the number, why are we spending time and resources
Well,
in
it's
this?
not broken.
Yeah.
So why fix it?
Yes. So you could have a CEO who thinks like that. And then everybody in that mix who's trying to like go ahead and get ahead of everything, bringing in, let's do a POC. Why? Because these numbers are going to be impacted soon in 6 months.
Yes.
They're not impacted now.
Yes.
Nah.
No.
He's not going to approve that until when they start to see the fire. That's when they're.
It's when please bring your business case.
That business case that was seated, Ebu, send it again.
Yeah.
Someone had told us about this. Okay. Had mentioned this 6 months ago.
It had been mentioned.
That we needed to do something. Ebu, Bella, come again. We had that conversation.
Comes COVID. And here COVID, for all the things that it's worth and should be given credit for, is acceleration of digital strategy. I tell you, COVID was a wake-up call to your workforce can work remotely and you should empower them to work remotely. 2 years down the line post-COVID, it was productivity is equivalent to physical space in the office, or is it that wherever you work from, as long as there's an understanding of the vision and what we need to deliver, this company can succeed?
Yes.
And I know those discussions are still being had right now, where professionals in people and culture are either cajoling or trying to find a way to get people back
into the office.
To office. And the argument for this employee, who also remember has been upskilling throughout this time, they've taken it as their personal responsibility to grow their skill set. So this employee is very marketable in the marketplace. Their talent is being sought after, and you're making it about their physical presence in the office. I know right now we are going the workforce route quite a bit, and this employer has also decided if the company is not taking the time to understand what my needs are as a resource within this organization, if they are clearly showing me that they are not accelerating towards the now digital tools in the marketplace, then I need to also decide if this is the place I want to stay.
Exactly.
So there's also shift in terms of talent.
Yeah.
And more boardroom conversations are becoming not only how can we attract the right people into the organization, it is how can we retain some core resources within the organization, and what is it that they need in order for us to retain them. I don't know that it has received enough weight in the boardroom, but it's about time, because the future of the workplace is something that's changing year in, year out. We now have the Gen Zs who are coming into the workplace, redefining what it looks like to report into a certain person in the organization. They are very digital first. They do not want to be boxed into this is what productivity is equivalent to, or this is your job role. Stick to just this. I mean, and that is it. We've heard of silent quitting, and theirs is a fishy silent. It is I simply don't show up to work and I don't pick up phone calls. Yes, and as millennials, it is you write a letter and serve notice.
Yep.
The Gen Z is thinking, no, not
I'll just ghost you.
No.
Ghost the company.
And that's already been redefined. I don't think there's any more of trying to convince them otherwise that is going to do us any good. It is that the marketplace has shifted.
And there's no going back. Like, it's too late to think that we're going to go back 15, 10 years ago and how things were 20 years ago. That's not going to come back, right? The unfortunate thing is that the way the office is structured now, we forget that for the last 200 years, offices were structured that way for the Industrial Revolution.
Yes.
Right. That's where the cubicle setup was created. There's a supervisor, there are people working, there's a factory there. You go and do your thing, you come back. You needed to be physically in the office for production to happen because the human capital was capital, right? It's the one that was driving manufacturing. But we live in a world now where you're selling ideas. You're peddling a service. It's not a product, it's not a factory line, it's not from stage one, stage two, stage three that you need supervision and someone needs to be there. You can generate output, and that output is digital and it's soft. It's not physical, it's not a cab, it's not something that is tangible, right? And you can have 5 people across Africa delivering on that output. They don't
From
need to be in the same
wherever they are
at whatever
geographically.
time zone, right? And so we know from COVID, if there's anything that COVID told us is that it's possible to do this. The company is not going to shut down.
Yeah.
Safaricom didn't shut down during COVID, and people were working from home. So what makes us think that the only way it's going to work
Is
is
if
by
they come
coming
back
back
to
to office? Like make that make sense for me. It doesn't. It doesn't make sense. So the only reason why it's happening is because I feel like everybody, management, directors, leadership team is thinking that these people are not doing the work of that company when they're sitting at home. And the only way to ensure that they're doing 8 hours
is if
for
we
us
supervise
is if
them.
they come and sit there and we're looking at their screens and they're not on a phone call, with another competition, competitor company and doing some service over there. So it's out of fear. But if it has worked for 2 years during COVID,
That's a proof of concept.
I mean, that's all you need to do. Like, the evidence is there, and it's clear that the company will not shut down because suddenly people are coming or working from home. Obviously, if you have warehousing, you need people there.
Yes.
You have a factory, you need people there. So there's a group of people that still need
That
to come to the office
must come, must
because
report.
they're part of some supply chain system where physically they need to be actually. But white collar office people, no, knowledge workers, no. There's no reason why they need to come to the office for sure. But you're right, it has shifted. COVID has demonstrated and showed us that it actually works. We are the ones trying to go back to the old system.
Yeah.
And there's no good reason why we need to go back there.
Yeah.
Work from home works.
Yes. Yes, it does. I'm an advocate for that because I proudly work from home right now. Let's talk leadership. and the role that today's leaders, business leaders, have in terms of the evolution of the use of technology. Right? So who's a transformative leader in this day and age? And let me dare say an effective transformative leader in this day and age. What sort of skill set, what sort of combination of attributes must that leader have in this day and age? Yeah.
So the ones that I see that are transformative are usually the ones that are visionary, right? Visionary in the sense that they know where their organization is today, they know where the world is today, but they also know where the world is going to be 5, 10 years from now, and they try and get the organization to a point where it can fit in that future, where, like we've discussed, I think 60 or 70% of the population now is people below the age of 25. Those are the guys coming into the workforce 10 years from now, 5 to 10 years from now. So you can't just bury your head in the sand and ignore the Gen Z conversation. Like, you can't. If you're ignoring it now, you're not being visionary because you're basically saying that we'll continue to have millennials in the workforce and these Gen Zs are not going to be part of your workforce. But that's denial. You're just basically burying your head in the sand. So a visionary leader is like, okay, 25%, sorry, 70% of the population right now are below 25. 5 to 10 years from now, the majority of people coming into this company, my company, are going to be people, the Gen Zs.
Yes.
What are their tastes? What are their preferences? What's their work style? How do we engage with them? Do we need to change our office setup to be able to attract those guys and they feel comfortable here? What do we need to change in terms of policy around HR to be able to align with this new workforce? How should we recruit, right? What kind of supervisors, what do our supervisors and the people that the Gen Zs are going to be reporting to need to be like? And then start to train them and prepare them for that. Again, the thing is, you don't wait until you start seeing the KPIs.
The numbers dwindle.
You start to prepare that early. So visionary CEOs, visionary leaders would be the people who start to plan for that and putting things in place in terms of change, training, change of policy, adaptation, bring in more people early as part of proof of concept.
Yes.
Get feedback from those people who come in.
Yes.
Bring in more interns.
Yes.
If you take 1 or 2 interns a year, take 10 and put them in different places.
Yes.
But the reason why you have them in different places is to learn and engage and then understand, okay, so how do they navigate the workforce? What are they saying? What are they saying about other people out there? What are they saying about our brand? What is their understanding in the Gen Z community around our company? And they just start to internalize that and then shift. So they have to be visionary.
Yeah.
That's one. And then two, they have to be able to understand that there are some technologies that we have to start adopting now because they will become ubiquitous 5 years, 10 years from now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I remember when the online internet came back in the 1998, 1990, 2000s. And everybody's like trying to figure out how that is going to impact their businesses. And the people who, they were like, this internet thing is just a fad. It's going to come and go.
Yes.
I don't need to be online.
Yes.
I don't need to have a website. But the competition was busy doing it, right? I don't need to prepare my workforce for it. Our customers call us through the phone, landlines at the time. It's fine, right? I mean, nothing is going to happen here. And then, like you said, the competition now provides services online and I can go there. The company that I work with doesn't have an online presence. This is now the new normal in terms of a standard of experience. Shifting that, and then the numbers start to drop. They're like, what's happening to our customers?
Yeah.
Oh,
let's now go ask
e-commerce
them.
is the thing. You aren't ready. It's too late. Like everybody has been building in the back end slowly, and you've just been ignoring that particular trend. So good leaders need to be aware of what technology trends are going to become ubiquitous
Yes.
5-10 years from now.
Yes. And then
We
work
now talk about
backwards.
AI, right? How many of people of the leadership team, the CXOs in the boardroom are thinking about what proof of concepts do I need to start to do today? Not next year, not next month, today. Like you're already late. As if you have not done a proof of concept in your function as of today. The best time you should have done it was yesterday. The next best time you should have done it is today. You should be testing something.
Yes, just try it out.
Try something out. Have a proof of concept. Nothing needs to go into production. And people, I think the problem is that they're like, oh, big budgets. Oh, so we need to change or replace this system. No, you just do it at a smaller scale.
Yes.
To be able to learn from it.
Yes.
Put a small budget on it.
Yes.
The learnings from there will determine the next steps.
The skill or
right?
not.
Right? Whether you're going to adopt it or not, how you're going to adopt it or not. The learnings are more valuable than even the end product of what it is that you're going to be rolling out, right? And that is the second piece. Tech is changing, the trend is changing, and you're probably hearing about it. You need to start to think about how you can start to integrate and test internally. If you're not testing internally and you're just waiting for the metrics to drop, then you're
late, we've said.
You're definitely late. The other one is, if we live in a world where intelligence is democratized, and that's what AI really is.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Yes, it is.
Anybody can access that level of intelligence.
Yes.
Everybody can access it.
Yes.
At any one given time. And if everybody can access that, if intelligence is democratized, what value now do you bring to the table?
Yeah.
As a leader?
Yeah.
What value do the people who work in your company bring to the table?
Yes.
And then now you have to start to think about
The
how do
quality
you
of
need to
your
do?
workforce.
Yeah,
The
then you have
quality
to
of
do,
your
right?
workforce.
And then so things like soft skills become more important.
Yes.
Empathy
Yes.
becomes important. Listening becomes important because artificial intelligence and all of those things basically take commands and then respond.
Yes.
What do your people then do?
Yeah.
They need to be people who do the things that AI
cannot do.
Exactly.
And for now, because we're also
Yeah,
not sure of what AI will be able to do
exactly. In
10
the
years
future.
from now.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, again, in a world where intelligence is democratized, what value do you bring to the table
Yeah.
as a leadership team?
Yeah.
But then, in terms of your people,
How are you
how are you going to
preparing
prepare
them?
them,
How are
right?
you preparing them?
So for me, those would be the two characteristics, I think three that I've mentioned that basically separates the leaders who are going to be relevant in the future and the leaders who are not going to be relevant in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Tim. It's been an awesome conversation. It feels like we have a lot more to discuss. And thank you for making the time. Thank you for your expertise, for all of the knowledge that we've shared today. So I'm going to tell our speakers where they can get you or find you. They can start at www.timothylaku.com. They can start there. Then
Yeah.
there's, of course, Timothy Laku on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, yeah.
And then there's Instagram as well.
Yes, I'm on
Yes.
Instagram as well, Timothy Laku. On Facebook, I don't use it as much. I'm on Twitter as well. I'm not active on Twitter and Facebook. So it's Instagram and LinkedIn and my personal blog,
Website.
timothylaku.com. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, awesome. Thank you again. Thank you everyone for listening. We're looking forward to your comments, a lot more engagement on YouTube and all the other spaces where you can find us. Thank you. Bye till next time.